We are back once again. Happy New Year, everyone. I hope you all had an awesome holiday season. Can't believe we're actually in 2025. Welcome back, Rogue Bunnies Mayhem. I'm Brian Olea. You might remember me from what? The Playboy Mansion, Playboy Radio. What was that show? Girls Next Door? Well, we've got a great guest coming on in this March 2009. Jen, we're back, girl.
Yay. I've missed you guys.
It's going to be fun. Well, as I was
I'm glad to be back on.
Yeah, we're going to have a fun year. I like the fact that we've all been discussing, like, we got to bring back those that are like, they're family. That's what's cool about creating this whole podcast, is letting people know about what a family we are and continuously are. And that's why I'm so excited to bring back Bryant Horowitz. I mean, dude, Playboy Mansion, Girls Next Door. The list can go on.
All
Actually, but we have to call you doctor, correct?
Technically, yes. I am a doctor.
Welcome back, buddy. How are your holidays? How's everything, man? Everything good?
Everything's great. I'm teaching, so the Christmas break is always welcomed. It's always hard at the end of the semester. I'm usually burnt out, although I did get to avoid some of that burnout because in November I got to take a trip to New York City and I got to see Jen.
Oh,
yeah. I was going to say a long time no see, but not really, because I just saw you a couple weeks ago.
That's right.
Yeah, I did see a bunch of posts from both of you. Looked like you guys were having a good time. So for all of our listeners, why were you guys in New York City?
Well, I was in New York City originally because I coaxed my school into paying for a conference for me. And I called Jen when I found out about the conference because I had heard rumors that our favorite band, Dave Matthews Band, was going to be playing at Madison Square Garden the same week I happened to be there for a conference. When it did turn out to be true, I was like, I don't care what you have to do, get your butt over here. And
I did. And there we were.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was super
You can't
cool.
go wrong when work is actually paying for your vacation.
Right.
That's right.
I'll tell you what, though, it was a different. I've been going to Dave shows since '98, and that weekend was crazy because I've never gone to. I guess everywhere that they are, there's like Dave Matthews fans who will do meetups in bars and things like that. So that was an experience for me. You go into this bar and it's crazy busy, and everyone's got Dave merch on, and they're playing Dave on the radio, and there's Dave on the screens, and I was just like immersed in this, like, these were all my people. It was so cool to like pre-game in that atmosphere. That was like really fun.
Yeah, my friend Nick.
Well, I'm sorry, Brian. I was just gonna say, the Dead crew is like, they're like a Dead crew, right? Like Dave Matthews is almost like what people know as Deadheads. In a sense that they're like a full-on like family, as Jen was saying. And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. What were you saying, bro?
Oh, I was just going to say that my friend Nikki, who lives in Catalina, she was actually the one that set up all the pre-shows and the post-shows. And
wow,
it was really cool. People make bracelets and stickers and keychains, and they just go around trading and just handing them out. So yeah, it's very Dead, very Fish-like.
Nice, dude. What a good fun getaway. Did you guys hang out? Well, I know you met up, right? You did the show, and then were a lot of these fandom parties prior or after?
We went to the ones that were prior. There were a couple that were after, yeah. But we like the pre-show ones.
Yeah, by the time 11 o'clock rolls around, and you've had a lot of tequila, and I cried the last hour of the second show, so I wasn't going anywhere after that but bed. I just needed to go. It was very cathartic, I will tell you.
I know, Jen, that you said that Brian, when you met up with Bryant, you were saying, "Oh my God, Bryant has so many stories he wants to talk about." I'm excited to get delve into so much because, dude, I mean, we lived in a fantasy world, as we've described before, and now as it's been, what is it going on, 8 years? It'll be going on 8 years being gone. It's like, it's almost surreal. I know sometimes I talk to Anthony, and Anthony goes, "Do you ever like question, did that really happen?" I go, dude, that's exactly what's been going on lately. It's like, time is now starting to pass that you stop and go, huh? Did you ever do that, Brian?
Yeah, that is definitely, you're like, you have that nostalgia, and then you're thinking about it and you're like, did that really happen, or was that just a fantasy?
Well, especially when you're immersed into your job. Like, we all knew that you were pursuing, your education. This is what you wanted to go into. Your heart was all there about studying with the mice, and we'd all joke about, all the different what project are you doing now? What crazy maze are you throwing them in today? What are you studying? Well, I'm studying the neurological studies of why this goes. I'm like, what the hell? That's your life now, dude. That's literally living it. So I'm sure there's got to be time when you look around and go, how did I get here?
Yeah, but I mean, it's still a big part of my identity. My handle on Instagram and I think Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it is still Dr. Butler Bryant, because yes, I'm a doctor, and yes, I was a butler, and it's all combined. There's no one life without the other. It's all part of one continuous thing. So I like to acknowledge it for both the doctor side and the butler side.
I like that. Do you trip, Jen? I mean, okay, both of you are parents,
Right.
so you get to go through the childhood all over again through the eyes of your children.
Right.
Holiday season, getting to play Santa. I mean, all that kind of stuff. Jen,
it's crazy. No, it is crazy. And when you think about how the roads of my life went, I wouldn't have what I do now if it wasn't for Playboy and those experiences and those people, places and things that led up to, meeting my husband and, moving back to New Jersey and having my kids. So it's such it just intertwines with everything. And my children still don't know anything about that side of my life. So I'm kind of looking forward to when I can tell them about it, because then I will get to tell them stories and relive those memories, and you kind of recreate those things in your brain. And then I'll start to remember more, I think, once I start to really get to tell the stories, because everyone that I know has already heard them a million times, and you're not going to just keep telling the same stories to the same people all the time. So it'll be kind of fresh and new. So I'm looking forward to that when that finally happens.
Well, Bryant, you kind of nailed it when you said you meld the two together. Butler, doctor, it's always there, and that's why you are where you are. And that's exactly what you just said, Jen. Everything that you are living right now is because of where you started and what you went through. Myself in there as well. So it kind of goes on to where I'm going to give a little tease before we go to a break, is that the new year. Do you believe in resolutions? Do you have new goals? Are there new things ahead? Are you going, you know what, this is the year I hope to finish this? We'll talk about that. We'll be right back. You are listening to Rogue Bunnies Mayhem.
Hi, I'm Bryant Horowitz, and I was a butler at the mansion from 1997 until 2016. You're listening to Rogue Bunnies Mayhem.
Do you want a job on the podcast? We could have two guys and two girls.
As long as there's enough hours in the day.
That's really what it comes down to.
We should create our own Rogue Bunny cup. Right?
I've thought about that today.
And we could do a segment called Two Guys, Two Girls, and One Cup.
No. I will not be a part of that. Nope. Not available that day. Sorry.
You want to.
I'm going to sell a bunch of cups.
Nope. I won't buy one.
The conversations I really wish that we had out there are the ones that we talk about while we're taking the break. Okay, we're out teased about New Year resolutions. What are we doing? I want to go into that. I want to find out, do you guys believe in resolutions? Do you have goals for this year? But you started talking about something about flashbulb memory or something, Bryant, and I'm like, hold it for the show. So go for it, bro.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Yeah. We were talking about how we combine our lives, right? So I'm doctor and butler. And one of the things as a professor is that I teach in my psychology classes about memory. And there's a lot of obviously memories that we've made at the mansion. And so in particular, there's something called flashbulb memory, which is where when you're emotionally heightened, your emotional centers of the brain and your memory centers of the brain work together and they're in overdrive. So you tend to remember more details about that memory as almost as if you're looking at a picture. And so when I'm teaching, I actually use my experience for 9/11 as my example of a flashbulb memory, because I don't know if you remember this, but all of the Butler's staff was complaining about the other shifts. Graveyard was complaining about afternoons. Afternoons were complaining about mornings, that people weren't doing their jobs. So you and Guy decided to put the Butlers in the other shifts for a week just to see what they were going through. And of course, I got the morning shifts, which I hated mornings. But I got the 6:30 a.m. shifts with JD on the week of 9/11. And so I tell people about how I remember 9/11 because I came in and I got there really early and I was looking at the TV out in the break area and I thought somebody had some weird movie on. One of the maintenance guys that may have gotten there earlier than me. And then I looked and it was, the plane hitting the first tower. And then about 45 minutes later, I went outside because we had to squeeze orange juice and our oranges were outside by the TV. Right. And I thought it was a replay and I saw the second tower being hit. And then I remember David Robinson came in around 9 a.m. and he said the Pentagon just got hit. And about 10 minutes after that, I got a call from one of the girlfriends. And I answered the phone and she said, I just heard the Pentagon got hit. And I said, yeah, it's pretty crazy. And she said, oh, how many Pentagons do we have? And I said, hold on. And I put her on hold and I said, JD, it's for you. Because I wasn't about to deal with that level. I couldn't do it.
I mean, it's horrible what happened. I hope no one mistook my chuckle. I just know this story. It was just like a shock. I remember when I came in, you're like, I got to tell you this. I got to tell you what just happened because everyone is already in shock. I remember when that happened, but you were attributing to the fact that certain incidences you remember where you were. Is that's what you remember?
Yeah, you remember more about that memory than just a general memory, like specifically who I was working with. I remember who was in the kitchen staff, who was in security. I remember like what time it was when these things happened. These are things that normal memories, you have the gist of it, but you don't always remember all the details about it. And when your emotions are heightened, so
then you remember. I'm laughing inside because this is exactly like you telling me this must happen to you at every Dave Matthews show because I'll get a song and then I'll get like a summary of I was at this show and this was my 55th show and it was a Thursday and it was he played this before it and he played this after it. That was the last time I got it. And it's just the details. I'm like, how do you remember all of this? I can't remember what I did last week. But that must be what you're going through. Like you're so heightened when you're at a Dave show, you're just kind of absorbing every single detail.
Yeah, that's how my brain works. Not everybody's does, I guess.
Mine does not.
So the new year, I mean, do you guys believe in resolutions? Do you even hassle or do you really take them serious? And do you have like huge goals for this year?
I don't know. I feel like I used to come up with resolutions because it was what you were supposed to do. And then I feel like I feel like you should just every day like wake up with a goal to do like positive things and manifest and stay in some sort of like positive energy. I think when you focus too much on I'm not going to eat sugar anymore, and then it becomes the sense of like taking something away in order to achieve something. So then you're kind of fighting against it all the time. Like it that's how I kind of look at it. I would rather just go with the flow, then I don't feel bad if I go back on it or if, I fall through a month later or something like that. It doesn't make me feel a negative emotion around a resolution. So that's how I feel about it.
I don't necessarily do the resolution thing, but I do use the beginning new year to sort of try to lay out what goals I have for the year and try to do something a little different. So I'm not going to be the person that's going to, jump in a gym with everybody else for the first 2 weeks of the year, or say, oh, I'm not going to eat this, I'm going to eat that. But I do think about goals for work, goals for school, goals for things that I could do with my son, like places I could take him, or, maybe taking my dog on more hikes, things like that. But nothing that's too crazy. And I don't like to call them resolutions. I just like to lay out the goals because it's a new year, it's a new start, and then let's see where it takes me. So there's no expectations in that sense.
Yeah, I think I'm on with you, both of you guys. I agree that I felt that 2024 was a lot of growth. I know, but I wish I had done more like what you guys are talking about, is like planning out, like scheduling. Like my scheduling used to be amazing. I mean, especially if you're okay, we're tying back to the mansion. Oh my God, me and Guy would sit there and go, what do we need to work on? We need to work on this, we need to work on that. Just like when Bryant, you mentioned about, hey, what do we do with the staff? I go, I'm tired of the bickering. I got an idea. What do you think? If everybody worked everybody's shifts, they would see it from a different point of view, because everyone's only seeing it from what they come in. They're like, oh, so-and-so didn't put this away, or so-and-so didn't set that up. Yeah, but you had no idea how many last minute little phone calls or errands or coffee setups or whatever bullshit took away that time. And then, and then I think that's what I'm trying to do also, Jen, is like have more understanding of other people's reactions,
Right.
without judgment. And that's freaking hard, man.
Yeah. But it goes back to those,
your point of view.
right.
It's difficult to stop and go, but wait a minute, what are they going through?
But that goes back to that book. Is it the 4 Agreements? Is that the book where you?
Oh, 4 Agreements is great. I love
you hold yourself account. You can't look at what other people are doing and take it personally. You have to, just worry about yourself. You can't control what other people do, and if you take it personally, then you're giving it more power. You have to just let them. Then you go on with your life.
Absolutely. Let's take a quick break. We're going to be right back. Oh, we're talking about a new year, and it's going to be an amazing one. You are listening to Rogue Bunnies Mayhem. We're back, Rogue Bunnies Mayhem. Jen, you were saying though, I'm excited. I met back up with Bryant. We teased about that earlier. Talked about how you guys went to go see Dave Matthews, and because that's like, you guys both have like a bonding with that band. But you're like, man, the story is Bryant always had a different story from the mansion. I'm like, yes, let's do this,
he
man.
remembers them in such detail. I mean,
so Brian, what other stories can you recall? Because this is so much fun.
There was. Sometimes, there's lots of stuff happening on the weekends, and sometimes when you're working during the week, there's like nothing going on. So one random Wednesday night, it was Darren and I. Darren was working graveyard, and I was working till 12:30. And it's probably around 10:30 at night, and I get a call. And we always get prank calls all the time there,
yeah.
But this time it was Pamela Anderson, and I was like, she was asking for Hef, and so I had to think, like, is this somebody that's trying to sound like Pam, or is this actually Pam? And it turned out, and I figured it out pretty quick that it was, because I'd met her before at different events. And so she calls up and she said, can I talk to Hef? She had the photographer David LaChapelle, very famous photographer, with her, and she wanted to give him a tour of the mansion at like 11 o'clock at night. So I was like, do I even wake up Hef? Is he going to get mad? So I buzz him and I said, sorry to bother you, sir. I have Pamela Anderson on the phone. He's like, oh, put her up, put her through. and so I was like, okay. So I put her through, and he called down and he's like, tell security that she's going to come up with her friend and to let her have, whatever part of the grounds she wants to go to, that she's fine. And so, okay. So she brings, David LaChapelle, and they go and do like a 45-minute tour. And then it's close to midnight, and I'm like 45 minutes from getting off work. And she comes into the kitchen and into the pantry, and she introduces David to us, and she said, what do you guys have to drink? And I said, what do you want? And I opened up the liquor cabinet, and she said, oh,
Right.
Patron. Yeah, that looks good. I said, okay. So I started, getting out the shaker to put it on ice, cutting up the limes. And then she says, we've met before, right? And I said, yeah, I've met you a few times. We've interacted, given your kids ice cream on Easter, things like that. And she's like, well, then we're friends, right? And I was like, sure, why not? And she goes, and friends drink, right? And let me preface this. Let me preface this by saying that I was in my early 20s. I didn't drink at the mansion, even though there was alcohol all around us.
Oh yeah.
But when Pamela Anderson comes by and says, "Yo, we're homies. We drink together," we took shots of Patron with her, and that was just a random Wednesday night.
Okay, so if we can mark this and date this, I'm going to talk to Guy. I think we owe you a write-up.
Right.
That's the funnest part for me, Jen. I swear, it's like when it's when you grow up, right, and you tell your parents, "Oh, remember that one time?" And it's kind of a big funny joke, and everyone can laugh about it.
I still don't tell my parents
mom is saying,
stories,
"I knew you snuck out that night," or you know what I mean? It's like funny when the guys will tell me something. Go, "I remember that one. Well, there was this one time."
I was worried for a second he was going to say he told her no, he couldn't take a shot because he was working. Like, what are you talking about?
Not when no one's around at midnight.
Right.
It was a different world during the graveyard shift, buddy. It totally was, man. I mean, we had talked about that, how the morning shift was different from the afternoon shift. The afternoon shift was different from the evening shift. The evening shift was totally different from. Everyone saw a different side of that mansion through those hours. It's crazy, man. Like what one of the wild times. I know. The boss would go out during the week. You'd fill in, do graveyard shifts. Any crazy stuff that comes to your mind?
Well, obviously just the girls being wild and sometimes, being fueled by more than alcohol and ordering all kinds of random stuff during the night. I also remember, I think it was 99. I worked a 25-hour shift once. I started at 2 p.m. I started at 2 p.m. on Saturday during Midsummers. And then Jameson called in sick, so I filled in graveyard. And then George called in sick for the next morning. And after a party, nobody else was going to be available to work a morning shift. So I just stuck around. I stuck around and was there until like 3 o'clock the next day. I remember one of the girls needed to be driven to the airport. One of the girls that was staying there, and security was like, "We don't have enough people." So they asked me to drive the limo.
Oh,
dude. I got to drive. I drove the girl in Hef's limo to LAX at 5:30 in the morning.
While you were exhausted and probably delirious.
Yeah, I was still awake. We had those energy drinks there. The Playboy ones. But no, I was in my, I was 21, I think, just around there. So yeah. I still had unlimited energy at that point. Like, man, if we could just bottle that, right?
Right.
So that was really interesting is, 5:30 in the morning, just getting into Hef's limo, driving a girl to the airport, coming back, hanging out. And of course, it was after a party. So like nobody was up in the morning. And it was just quiet and interesting.
I like how you're selective of your words. And it was
interesting.
That's the doctor side, right?
Well, Bryant, if you're cool with it, man, I'd love to have you stick around, right, Jen? And let's do a part 2. Let's really delve into some more of those stories and share with everyone what an amazing world we got to live in. I'd like to thank everyone that's been listening. Please tell all your friends, man, subscribe, sign up, whatever all that stuff is, right, Jen?
Right. Do it.
share this show. And you know what? I was telling Jen, I don't really read a lot of the comments, because I'm just so crazily busy. But I know Brett says, man, yeah, I go through it. So throw a question in there, something you want to know, right? Get involved. We'd love to freaking do a shout out. and say, yeah, hey, so-and-so wants to know about this. What do you think, Bryant? Maybe we can collect
I'm
a couple
down.
of them for the next show. All right, we're going to sign out. I'm Brian Olea.
Jennifer Pershing.
Bryant Horowitz.
And you've been listening to Rogue Bunnies Mayhem.